Core of the Bible podcast number 10, Integrity, a Hunger and Thirst for Righteousness. Welcome to the Core of the Bible podcast. My name is Steve, and I'll be your host as we explore the message of the Bible reduced to its simplest form. As you may know, it's my belief the core of the Bible consists of 7 main principles of conduct surrounding the topics of kingdom, integrity, vigilance, holiness, trust, forgiveness, and compassion. In this episode, we'll be exploring the deep desire for integrity that is a hallmark of believers. This desire wells up from the deepest recesses of our spiritual being, driving us to be conformed to the life of Messiah, a life of truth and righteousness. Yeshua stated it this way, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied." Matthew 5:6. In the Core of the Bible paraphrase, I have restated it this way, "Crave equity, thirst for doing the right thing, and you will be blessed as you are satisfied." I like the idea that righteousness or integrity is a craving. We can relate to that sensation from a physical point of view, so it's easy to translate that into a spiritual perspective. A craving or a thirst is something that cannot be ignored. It must be pursued until it is satiated. A life of integrity is one in which those cravings are striven for in every area of life. Hunger and thirst are the body's urgent indicators that nutrition and fluids necessary and vital for life need to be ingested as soon as possible. In like fashion, a believer cannot deny the indicators of holy injustice and inequity, which can only be satisfied with right actions. Just like the correct food and drink allow us to live healthy lives, believers thrive on righteousness. Isaiah 41 says, "The poor and needy seek water, but there is none. Their tongues fail for thirst. I, the Lord, will hear them. I, the God of Israel, will not forsake them. I will open rivers in desolate heights, and fountains in the midst of valleys. I will make the wilderness a pool of water, and the dry land springs of water." Psalm 63 says, "O God, you are my God. I earnestly search for you. My soul thirsts for you. My whole body longs for you in this parched and weary land where there is no water." Psalm 107, "For he satisfies the thirsty and fills the hungry with good things." Hunger and thirst are the physical representations of the deeper spiritual needs that we all share, and therefore we have a common bond with all other humans in the pursuit of having these needs met. According to Yeshua, the life of integrity is a life that is hungry and thirsty for righteousness. The world is a barren and desert wilderness where righteousness is not to be found unless God meets that need for us. And He can, and He will. The Bible is filled with stories and parables regarding hunger and thirst and the provision of God. For example, as Moses is recounting to the Israelites their struggles in the wilderness for 40 years and how God had provided for them, he says this in Deuteronomy 8. "Remember how the Lord your God led you through the wilderness for these 40 years, humbling you and testing you to prove your character and to find out whether or not you would obey His commands. Yes, He humbled you by letting you go hungry and then feeding you with manna, a food previously unknown to you and your ancestors. He did it to teach you that people do not live by bread alone. Rather, we live by every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord." And this passage is rich with imagery that speaks in more concrete terms about spiritual truths. The example of Israel wandering in the wilderness is akin to our own wandering journey through this life. The uncertainty of the daily provision was a real struggle that had to be endured. Yet, God overcame that uncertainty of daily food by providing manna. But the text also says why God did this. Quote, "He did it to teach you that people do not live by bread alone, rather we live by every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord." Unquote. Just as their physical hunger was provided for, their spiritual hunger could be provided for if they would seek His word and His wisdom as earnestly as they sought the manna each morning and with the same regularity. The Bible teaches us that whatever is needed, God can provide. Wandering Israel needed food. God provided manna. They needed water. God provided miraculous pools and springs to sustain them. Drawing on this very imagery of the wilderness journeys, Yeshua states further in John 6, "After all, our ancestors ate manna while they journeyed through the wilderness. The scriptures say Moses gave them bread from heaven to eat. And Jesus said, I tell you the truth, Moses didn't give you bread from heaven, my Father did. And now he offers you the true bread from heaven." Jesus replied, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry again. Whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." And Yeshua spoke not only of the bread of life that he could provide, but of the water of life to satisfy every thirst. In John 4 it says, "But whoever drinks the water I give him will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give him will become in him a fount of water springing up to eternal life." And in John 7 he says, "On the last and greatest day of the feast, Jesus stood up and called out in a loud voice, 'If anyone is thirsty, let him come to me and drink.'" God knows we have a need, and he has provided for that need. In some cases, people don't recognize their need for this spiritual food and drink, and therefore carry on through their lives, oblivious to the richness available to them. And this is why it is the person of integrity who recognizes this need and feels the hunger and the thirst for righteousness every moment of every day, and they pursue those cravings by drawing near to God. Their cravings drive them to seek for the truth of God's instruction, and God provides. Albert Barnes, in his notes on the Bible regarding Matthew 5:6, has this to say: "Blessed are they which do hunger." Hunger and thirst here are expressive of strong desire. Nothing would better express the strong desire which we ought to feel to obtain righteousness than hunger and thirst. No needs are so keen, none so imperiously demand supply as these. They occur daily, and when long continued, as in case of those shipwrecked and doomed to wander months or years over burning sands, with scarcely any drink or food, nothing is more distressing. An ardent desire for anything is often represented in the Scriptures by hunger and thirst. A desire for blessings of pardon and peace, a deep sense of sin and want and wretchedness is also represented by thirsting. They shall be filled. They shall be satisfied, as a hungry man is when supplied with food, or a thirsty man when supplied with drink. Those who are perishing for want of righteousness, those who feel that they are lost sinners and strongly desire to be holy, shall be thus satisfied. Never was there a desire to be holy which God was not willing to gratify, and the gospel of Christ has made provision to satisfy all who truly desire to be holy. Also, in Isaiah 55, the prophet writes, "Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters, and you without money, come, buy and eat. Come, buy wine and milk without money and without cost. Why spend money on that which is not bread, and your labor on that which does not satisfy? Listen carefully to me, and eat what is good, and your soul will delight in the richest of foods." Psalm 42 says, "As the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul longs after you, O God. My soul thirsts for the living God." So how is it you can tell if you're hungry? Well, if you're hungry, you most likely are going to eat whatever small bit of food is put in front of you. But if you're full, even the most generous portion of delicious food will not seem appealing in any way. In like fashion, the person hungry for righteousness will eat every little scrap of it that comes their way, while those who are not hungry wouldn't touch it if it was served in the very center of the most delicious cake. The hungry yearn for even crumbs of righteousness to fall from the table. Those who are full do not value integrity and righteousness at all, and would rather use any means and any methods to get what they want. So in my mind, a natural question arises. If those who hunger and thirst for righteousness are filled and satisfied, could the opposite also be true? if one doesn't hunger and thirst for righteousness, will they not be filled? The Bible speaks of it this way. Job 38. Light is withheld from the wicked, and the arm raised in violence is broken. Proverbs 4. The way of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know over what they stumble. Proverbs 11. The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of the treacherous shall destroy them. Proverbs 13. Righteousness guards the way of integrity, but wickedness overthrows the sinner. 1 Corinthians 6. Or do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Ultimately, those who choose to follow their own ways demonstrate the lack of integrity that God desires of his people who will accomplish his purpose, and they are therefore outside of his kingdom. The way of the unrighteous is to reject the wisdom of God, and in doing so, they seal their own fate if they remain in that state. In the first chapter of Proverbs, the wisdom of God is personified as an individual warning people to abide in God's ways. In verses 30 through 33, it says, They refused my advice. And this is personified wisdom speaking. They despised my every warning. They will eat the fruit of their lifestyle. They will be stuffed with their own schemes. Gullible people kill themselves because of their turning away. Fools destroy themselves because of their indifference. But by contrast, the righteous long for the wisdom of God. They seek his counsel at every opportunity. Verse 33 of Proverbs 1 says, But whoever listens to me, that is to wisdom, will live without worry and will be free from the dread of disaster. Proverbs 2 says, He lays up sound wisdom for the upright, speaking of God. He is a shield to those who walk in integrity, that he may guard the paths of justice and preserve the way of his saints. Those who seek God's wisdom will walk in their integrity. Paul's admonition to Titus in Titus 2 is, And you yourself must be an example to them by doing good works of every kind. Let everything you do reflect the integrity and the seriousness of your teaching. Teach the truth so that your teaching can't be criticized. Then those who oppose us will be ashamed and have nothing bad to say about us. So by walking with integrity, we provide no opportunity for others to demean the message of the kingdom. In fact, we exhibit the very characteristics that God desires of his people, and that becomes a light to others in a world filled with the darkness of selfish ambition and careless avarice. In summary, being a person of integrity can be simply stated as someone who strives to do the right thing according to God's standards at every opportunity. They're so focused on righteous living that it can be characterized as a deep and enduring hunger and thirst that drives them. And in so doing, God promises their hunger will be filled and their thirst will be satisfied. Well, once again, I hope I've been able to provide you some ideas and concepts to meditate on further. Integrity is a lifelong pursuit, but one that God promises will be rewarded when we seek his wisdom and righteousness in everything that we do. We need to keep in mind that integrity is one of the concepts that is integral within the core of the Bible qualities of kingdom, vigilance, holiness, trust, forgiveness, and compassion. It's my hope that you'll continue to review with me these aspects of human expression that I believe God expects of all people. So be sure to visit coreofthebible.org to join the conversation through comments, to see daily blog posts on these topics, and to find free downloadable resources regarding the message of the Bible reduced to its simplest form. Thanks for your interest in listening today. As always, I hope to be invited back into your headphones in another episode to come. Take care.